The presentation can either make or break a project. What's up designers, Matt Roberts here, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to present your logo designs to a client. Effectively communicating your logo designs can either make or break a project. It's important for the client to understand how you've got from A to B. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the process that I like to use to present my logo designs and a few of my top tips. Before we get started, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. We post new videos every Wednesday helping you become a better designer. Also, let me know in the comments below on what you'd like to see in future videos. Let's get started. The best way to show your logo designs to a client is to show them off in the best light. You could just send over a bunch of logo files in a folder and expect the client to work out what's going on, but they won't look too kindly on that. The idea is the logo itself is a product and the presentation is the packaging it comes in, and together they work together to sell the logo design to the client. The idea is to damage control and minimize revisions and sell them on one concept. There are many different ways that you can present your logo designs, but I'm going to be sharing with you the way that I like to present my logo designs, as I find it works well for me. For my presentations, I like to use Keynote. I functionally feel like it fits in my workflow and it does what I need it to do. You could do these in PowerPoint, Illustrator, whatever, but my personal preference is using Keynote. I have a template set up that I use to speed up my workflow, and it allows me just to drag and drop and change the text to suit each client. When I present my logo designs, I typically like to do it in person, over the phone, or on video chat. I feel this allows me to define the foundations of the logo and walk the client through the process and the journey that has led to the solution that I'm delivering to them. So, I always like to start off with a bit of a recap. I just feel this gets everybody back on the same page and just gets everybody in the right mind frame for moving forward. And I always start off with some of the USPs of the product, some of its features and functions, and anything else that I felt was necessary from our initial discovery. So from that, I like to go on and remind them some of the words that we discussed about the brand and what they want it to portray when people look at this. And then I'll highlight some of the key traits that we'd outlined. So from that, I like to remind them of the goal of the project. Again, this is just building the foundations to present the logos on top of, so they know they have something to measure the logo designs against. From there, I'll demonstrate any mood boards, any stylescapes if we've done anything like that. This is where I'll show this, again, just as a reminder, so everything's fresh in everybody's minds. So from that, I like to discuss the foundations of the logo design, how it's been constructed, and any special thoughts, meanings, and notable characteristics that have been used to construct the logo design. Again, we're just building layer by layer that sandwich to make a structurally sound presentation to deliver the logo designs in. So in this particular case, we've got the hexagon, explain why it's been used and chosen, and again, the artificial neural network, and again, why it's been chosen. And then once we've done that and outlined some of the main foundations for the logo design, I'll move on to the logo designs themselves. So from here, we'll move on to concept one, and I'll always start on something along these lines. Again, it all depends on the type of design that's being presented, where in this case, I was able to show what had led to the actual final mark that had been designed. So after this point, I'll then show the full logo in black on a plain white sheet. This is just to draw the eye to the logo with no fuss, no messing around, and just leave that logo in the center so the client can look at it with no other distractions, just the logo on its own. From here, I like to move on to showing a side-by-side of the positive and the negative of the logo, and just show how it can work on different backgrounds. And then from here, do the same thing again, but in color. Again, it's just building up layer by layer, creating a solid foundation. Ultimately, it's like building a house. You start with the foundations and then you just build it layer by layer. So now we've presented the logo designs in their color form. I like to show the mark scalability. The scalability of a logo is massively important. It needs to work as a favicon. It needs to work on massive billboards. It needs to work on TV, posters, business cards. It needs to work at every size. So I always like to show the mark scalability. That way the client can visualize how it'll look small versus how it will look big and in between as well. From this point, I like to move on to show the responsiveness of the logo and how it works as different lockups. With the vast forms of media we have these days, it's important that a logo is responsive. And you've got the icon for a favicon, the large icon for any large media, and then you've got the small and the stacked for actually where you've got space saving, or you need to save space and what you're actually using. Once I've shown the logos off and actually gone through the black, the white, the colors, the variant scalability, the responsiveness, I then move on to the mock-ups. Mock-ups are highly important when presenting logo designs to a client. It allows them to visualize the logo design in real world context. And the important thing to remember with mock-ups is to make them relevant to the brand. If you're going for something that's modern and futuristic, you don't want something that's vintage or along those lines. You want something that actually suits the brand and suits, again, so it puts it in the right context. So for here, we've got this space-aged billboard mock-up. I made this one myself, but there's thousands of resources online that you can download free mock-ups from. In a minute, I'll switch over to Photoshop and I'll show you how I create some of these. I am aware that there's Adobe Dimension out there now where you can create mock-ups on. It's something I've not used too much, so I still use Photoshop to do all my mock-ups as it's what I'm most comfortable with. But you can use whatever you want to create the mock-ups. There's online mock-up generators. The idea is just to demonstrate the logo at its best. They can start picturing how their brand is actually going to come together. So I'll typically show 3 mock-ups for each design. Again, all trying to make them as relevant as possible to the design. When presenting logo designs, I typically only present 3 designs. I just feel this works best as it gives them the opportunity to say definitely no to one, but then there's still 2 others where they can still go, well, I like this, but I don't like this. I like that, and I don't like that. But I always like to go through and build on top of that foundation that we've just discussed. So I'm just going to quickly switch over to Photoshop now and just show you how I put some of these mock-ups together. So now I've switched over to Photoshop for the mock-up. This is the mock-up that we were just looking at. And as you can see here, we've got some smart objects that one's for the stand and one's for the little unit. And the idea is you can double click on the smart object. And once you've put your design on here, it could be something you've made on here, or it could be a design that you've made separate and you're importing into here. Once you've got something you're happy with, it's just a case of saving it, and then that will apply it to the mock-up. There's thousands of resources online that you can download these mock-ups from, but they all work in a very similar way with the smart objects, where you can just drag and drop the artwork on and then it will map it to the particular mock-up. Then I just export those and then import them into my Keynote presentation. So going back to the presentation, again, once I've gone through the first design, I'll go through the second design, and then I'll go through the third design. And once I've gone through all the 3 designs, I then typically like to go back to, again, a recap of the designs that we've just covered. So I'll show the first design, the second design, the third design, and then I'll do a side-by-side comparison of them all. Again, it's just to stop the client having to go back, and it's just a constant reminder of everything that we've covered. And this allows them to see everything on one page and compare them equally next to one another. I always finish on a thank you message, so then I take on some questions if they want to discuss anything a little further, pry a little bit deeper. Again, it's why I like doing this in person or over the phone, as it allows the client the opportunity to ask questions. Also, when presenting, and I typically go through this in the mock-up phase, depending on what I'm presenting as the mock-ups, I'll take in swatch books that have different paper samples. I'll take in different examples of prints, papers. I'm a firm believer of allowing a client to touch and feel their brand. As soon as they start to feel materials and mock-ups, it starts bringing everything to life, and you can change somebody's perception of something just in the way it's presented and the way they can actually interact with forms of their brand as it comes together. Depending on the client as well, if it's in person, I'll print the logos onto some foam core and I can take that so we've got something to pass around. Again, it just makes it a physical object that they can hold and pass around between them. So there we have it. That's how I like to present my logo designs to a client. It's what works well for me, and I hope it works well for you. Let me know if you have any successes with this in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, designers. If you like this video, smash that subscribe button, give it a like, and also don't forget to ring that notification bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. Check out the merch, link in the description below.